Well, I thought I'd do a video showing some of the bikes that I have near completion. They're all in various stages of completion. Not one of them's ever done. But I thought I'd start with my newest dated bike. I think this is an 81. It's an Amf Hawk 6. Picked it up at an auction pretty cheap and did a whole complete rebuild and cleanup. It's got a 2-speed down here. Diacomp brakes. The only thing I replaced on it was the headlight, which is not correct, but it's better than having an empty bracket. And it looks like one tire has been replaced because of the different tread patterns. But other than that, as far as I know, it's pretty much all original and everything works. 2-speed, pull it back and it stays back, push the button in and it clicks back forward. It says high and low on there. Maybe I should have picked a nicer day out here when there's more sun, but it's still nice out. Next is a bike that I got from my friend, and he picked it up at an auction too pretty cheap, and he was hard up on cash and I really liked it. It was in some pretty sorry shape too, so I took it all apart and polished it and cleaned it, and as far as I know, everything's complete on this bike. I did replace a bearing race because it was slightly warped, but you can't even really tell. There's actually that race in there. But everything cleaned up nice. It's got a few nicks and scratches in the paint, but it's only original once, so I didn't, of course, repaint it. It's got the smaller crank and the smaller seat, 20 spoke wheels. The front of it says it's a true value bicycle, and it actually has Dunlop tires. It says Dunlop right there, inflate to 40 pounds. The pedals need some little bit more work, but for the most part this one's pretty much done. And my next bike, the last series of bike videos that I did was on this one, and it was in some pretty sorry shape too. It's seen better days. I got this from my friend in Moline. Thanks, John. It was in, I don't know, sorry shape by the looks of the seat. That's original. I didn't replace it, I just repaired it. But it was a lot of polishing. Had to take the wheels all the way down and polish them up, but they did actually come out. It says mo.mfg.co, so I'm guessing it's Murray wheels. I'm pretty sure they're original, but it is a Western Flyer. Got some original decals. The paint didn't quite come back perfect, but maybe some buffing will help. I haven't gotten to that yet. Like I said, all of these bikes are works in progress. Actually, there's a little bit of rust right there I can take off too. The sissy bars have been replaced and the handlebars have been replaced because the chrome was too far gone on those. So I still have the originals, I just replaced them with shinier ones. So next is another Schwinn. I got it with just the frame and fenders, and it had a flower seat on it, but I had a green seat and no green bike, so I put the green seat on a green bike. It made sense to me. It's still a work in progress too. It's very dirty. It needs to be all torn down and cleaned up, and some of that white will buff out of the frame with some love. But it looks to be original fenders and that kind of stuff. It still needs a lot of work. This one I built when I still lived in town because I used to ride around town a lot, and this one was built to be more comfortable to ride on the road. My nieces stole the horn. It's got a fender from a different Stingray, but I was trying to keep it legal, because I rode it a lot day and night. It's got the generator kit. Push this button and it falls against the tire and works. Pull it back and it stays back, so you don't have that resistance in the daytime. I got the headlight for it inside too, but I'm doing some work on that. Like I said, all of these are works in progress. I had this bike before I got my driver's license. I've probably had it 15 to 17 years, something like that. It's got a Schwinn repop back tire because it was available. It's still pretty new, but I got it available and I didn't want to ride on the original slicks because I did ride this a lot. It's so dirty, it needs to be cleaned up really bad, but there's so many things to do, I don't really have time. It's got repop forks on the front too, but they're sturdy at least. They're comfortable to ride on, and that tire is a fastback front wheel. I got the back wheel of the fastback, but I just don't have it on a bike right now. So that's just a couple of my bicycles, and I'll bring out a couple of trikes and show those too. Okay, next is a couple of custom trikes I built and a vintage one. This is I believe it's a 77 Stingray, and it's got the two-wheel drive town and country rear end, so it does in fact have a differential in there. Got an old Vista shifter. I thought it was cool mounted to the side though, instead of in the, supposed to go right here on a bar, but that wasn't as much fun as back there. Plus it made the cable much easier to route. To shift it, I ran it off the sissy bar. I had to drill holes in here so that the sissy bar didn't drop, because these are actually the brackets that mounted the reflector to the back. I cut them off severely because it's so low. I know the paint looks like crap, but that's the way I got it. So one day I'll give it a repaint. This is actually a 24-inch back end like that one over there. Except I took the axle out and flipped it over upside down and put it back in, so that these mounting tabs used to be on the top. With the axle upside down, the mounting tabs go on the bottom, and that lowers this whole frame down. I had to make a custom bracket up there. Those bars don't actually touch, but that keeps the track back in from the axle would rise up and turn, and the top frame would slide up on the frame of the bicycle, and you don't want that because it messes with your chain tensions and all that kind of stuff. It's a coaster brake 3-speed, if it wasn't obvious enough. I got this chain guard off of an old Hollywood. It was a 26-inch, and I didn't have a chain guard, and this actually matched the paint. I cut it and notched it so that it would fit. The chain guard's actually supposed to end along that part of the frame or flare off like that. Well, this one just stretches the whole length. Turned out pretty good. This used to be a 68 spoke wheel, but that's just too many spokes for me, so I took half of them out and made a 34 spoke. I think it looked pretty good because the rear ones are 28 spoke, and on a tricycle you want as many spokes as you can without getting crazy with it for strength, because the rims take a lot of lateral forces. These are the handlebars that were on the green and white Stingray just now, because I don't have enough ape hangers to go around, so I just set them on here for an idea how it looked. These pedals used to be on a lowrider, you can tell because they're all smashed up. And yes, it does have a kickstand. I'm not going to cut it off or remove it because it's an original Schwinn. So before you give me shit about having a kickstand on a tricycle, that's why. I got some fenders for it too, but I'm going to have to drop those fender braces because they sit too high up off the tire. Like I said, it's a work in progress. Still working on this one. I just put it on the back burner for a while. I did this one last year. I made a crappy grainy video with my phone because I didn't have a camera at the time. So this is a better, more in focus look on this one that I've been working on too. It still needs a lot of work. These forks I built for a different bike a long time ago. This is a 22-inch frame. It's a Schwinn Breeze. I don't know where that chain guard came from, but it was real fat and I liked it. And it got cut and notched, kind of styled in. The wraparound on the back, and a custom brace there. It needs paint, I know, but I haven't gotten to that. And this piece here used to be the rack that would go on the back of a bicycle behind the seat on top of the rear wheel. That way you could, strap stuff down. And then I made custom brackets for the seat to move the seat back, because when you add length to the back of the bicycle, it changes the center of gravity and then you have too much weight on the front wheel. So by moving the seat back probably about 8 inches or so, 6 inches, it really changed the center of gravity and made it much easier to ride. Again, I don't have enough wheels and tires to go around, so these tires were donated off of the green little chick just for the purpose of this video. Also the handlebars, I don't have enough of them. That's alright. I don't ride them all at once anyway. That'd be a big challenge. I'm also thinking about mounting the weed eater engine on the back of this, because at that point I could mount the engine in the center instead of off to the side like I have on my current project. This would be a good one for it. But all there is to say about it, it's still a work in progress too. Needs a lot of work and a lot of paint, but it's actually a really comfortable ride compared to some of my other tricycles. I have baskets too, but it's easier to leave them off because carrying them in and out of the door becomes a challenge when you have a large object like this. And next, this is one that I've never shown on video before on my channel. One day I'll put it together and show all of you what it looks like. This is a 1982 Schwinn Town & Country Tricycle, and it's in pretty good shape, so I don't keep it assembled for fear of scratching it up, because again, it's such a large object. But I have all the parts to it. It's all here. I keep it wrapped in a blanket in the closet so that it doesn't get scratched up. The only reason it's torn apart is because the tires are original and they're dry rotted, and they won't contain the pressure of an inner tube anymore. So it's actually cool about these old trikes, these handles that lift up so you can lift the basket out, but when they go down they actually clamp on the sides of these bars so that you can go for a ride with the basket secured, pull the handles up and take the basket with you. It does need a lot of cleaning up. Got the pedals, and here's the 3-speed hub. All that stuff's in there. The only thing I forgot to bring out was the front forks and the front fender, which I have. I just have them also wrapped in blankets. It is missing the 1, 2, 3 change on the top of that, but that's not a big deal. And also forgot to mention, this is an e-brake for a tricycle. These are pretty rare handle grips, because when you pull them back you got your front brake. Well, when you park it, tricycles roll away, so you pull it back and you push the button down and the button stays down and it holds your front brake on. That way your trike doesn't roll away. Squeeze it, the button pops up and you can ride off. So back to that idea, this is a 22-inch frame. It worked out great the way I measured it up, because this one will roll away. It's not because it's on grass, but if you put the kickstand down, tilt it up, then I didn't tighten the handlebars down. It pulls the wheel off the ground so it doesn't roll away. So that's the parking brake for that tricycle. So that kickstand actually has a purpose. On the original 1980, it actually had a factory delete for the kickstand hole. So like I said, those kickstand housings are welded in. So one day in the future I'll go ahead and pull this out and tear it all down and completely polish it up and restore it. Just, I haven't really gotten to it yet. Alright, on this trike, it's a Schwinn Hollywood 20-inch, 24-inch back end, 20-inch wheels. I decided it would be really cool to have a motorized tricycle, so I mounted this weed eater engine. It's a 31cc, runs off a bicycle peg. Those brackets aren't pretty, but they hold the engine down. I didn't really want to work too hard, so I used vice grips to mount the bottoms. I can just take them off if I need them, and it adds the ability to adjust the height of the peg off the tire. Plus, if it breaks down, I can take the vice grips off and remove the bolts up on top, and then pull the engine off the tire so I can ride it home broken down. You know, if it ever happens. Got a return spring from an old fuel injected car. I don't have a twist lever or anything, and the cable was too short, so that baby's all or nothing, and it stays that way. Not real safe, but it's fun as hell. It's dirty and nasty, but everything's been rebuilt as far as bearings and all that kind of thing. It's of course a one-wheel drive, coaster brake setup. Good thing about this direct drive is you can use compression to brake the speed of the tricycle instead of just relying on the brakes itself. That's the kill switch hanging down there, so you can't push the kill switch when you're riding it. But who needs to kill it when you're riding it, right? Needs a lot of work still. I think I'm going to probably mount that engine to a different tricycle, like I said earlier, because this bar is in the way to mount the engine low enough to drive that tire instead of the other tire. There's a sprocket that I mounted to the hub because I was going to make it chain driven, but then I realized that the gear ratios were way too high and it didn't have enough speed to hardly start it, let alone push it down the road. Then I had a bigger peg on there, and I moved it to a smaller peg for better gear ratios, and it goes faster that way too. So that one's like I think it's a 13.3 to 1 ratio. I don't remember exactly, but it does pretty good. Check out some of my older videos and you'll see it in action. This one, I did another old grainy video with my phone a long time ago, last year. It's a 1975 Free Spirit, sold by Sears and Roebuck. I think it'll clean up. I haven't got into it really extensively. I think a lot of the chrome will come back, and I think I can restore those nasty, dirty rims. But they hold air. It rides nice. It goes down the road just fine. It's just dirty and nasty. Needs another reflector. I got the basket. Like I said, I leave the baskets off. They're easier to get in and out of the house. These have super wide hubs for a tricycle. It's two-wheel drive, also with a differential, which is much larger than a Schwinn differential. Adds some more weight. Plus these axles, I think, are 3/4 inch, as opposed to the 5/8 inch Schwinn. Not positive on those. I had to double check, but that's pretty much how that works. And you can slide the whole axle back with this bolt here to tighten and loosen the rear chain. So it has that adjustability, and those sealed bearings is kind of nice. It's got a unique chain guard, and you can raise and lower the seat with these pins, and of course a seat post. Got a really comfy seat. It doesn't matter what size your butt is, that's a nice seat. Needs a lot of work, maybe even a paint job. Depends upon how much this will clean up. And that back piece of plastic is broken, but I think I can deal with that. It's 24 inch, of course, and it's got the 3-speed two-wheel drive. The horn still works, although the battery compartment's broken. I can hook batteries straight to it and it'll honk. So that'll be a project for another day. As far as I know, everything's original on it. And this one, I got a lot of these parts for my friend, and I thought I'd build something different. So I figured use the longest 20-inch frame I could find on the back of this different style tricycle back end. I added these support bars came with the back end. These bars are the brace bars on a pair of springers. They're reproductions, they're not originals, don't worry. They'll clean up. I can get some of that rust off of there. haven't gotten to it. I'm just putting it together to see how well it works. Got an angled bracket under there to hold a seat stem or post, and then the seat is bolted onto that post, so you can actually adjust it towards the back. Although you got not very much weight on the front wheel as it is, so I don't think it's going to go back any further and still be safe to ride. Well, I guess none of my tricycles are really safe to ride, but that's no fun, is it? This is a one-wheel drive back end. It does have a 3-speed. I got to get a knob for that and cut the seat post off. It's just another work in progress, and I haven't decided which direction it's going. I think it's going to get some 20-inch wheels because these big guys are just messed up. They're not going to be able to be cleaned up. So some 20-inch wheels maybe, and then to offset the 20-inch wheel gear ratios, I put a larger sprocket on it. Put the handlebar neck on backwards so you could reach the handlebars better because you sit so far back on it. Forks need painted. And it's actually one of my lightest tricycles of all the ones that I have, so it's easy to pedal, although the laid back situation doesn't really go for long miles. But it's fun to ride, and that's why I built them, is for them to be fun to ride. So that's just a few of my collection. I still have some in the house that are in various stages of completion, which I haven't made videos on, so hopefully I can also make a trip to Moline to visit my friend who said he had some more projects for me, and I do like keep my hands busy. So I'll go ahead and wrap this video up, and thanks for watching.